Welcome to Convergence Healing with Peter Bedard, where we empower you to heal your pain on every level of your being, body, mind, spirit. Our show is about sharing solutions for creating the life you want. We invite you to stand up and choose a life of health, happiness, and joy. And we're here to show you how. This is Convergence Healing.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Convergence Healing. I love doing this, and I love sharing these wonderful people that I come in contact in the world with you all. That's part of why I do this, because there's no sort of clearinghouse for this kind of information, for all these holistic, alternative, integrative healers, spiritual people that I like to bring to you guys. So I'm challenging all your old thinking patterns. I'm challenging you to look for different ways to heal and different ways to bring goodness in the world outside, into your body even, outside of drugs and surgery. Not that those things are bad, but I want you guys to heal. And I know that all wounding happens physically in the body. It happens spiritually or emotionally in the heart, and it happens in our spirit. So when we have a wound to heal, we must address that wound on each of those levels. And my guest here is somebody that I used to work with out at Passages in Malibu at Addiction Recovery. And it's on the, what do we call it? The Rehab Riviera, right out there. And it was a beautiful place to work, and a wonderful way of addressing the human condition. It was a wonderful way of looking at pain. It's one of the reasons why they recruited me initially to work at Passages, because I understood that healing can't just be done, especially in experiences like with addiction. It can't just be done by talk therapy. It has to work on a spiritual level. You have to have the heart heal, especially with addiction. And if you're not addressing the heart and you're not addressing the wounds of the heart, then most likely, not that there's no never, but most likely people don't find that grace. They don't find that ease that is available to them in sobriety. So my next guest is he's a little bit of everything. He has his master's degree from Pacifica Graduate Institute. He works in addiction as an expert, as a life coach. I know him more as sort of a shaman kind of guy, where he does all kinds of really amazing spiritual practices with people. But before I introduce my guest, I always have a quote. I go online, I take a moment, sort of in a way meditate on my clients and look for a quote that I find inspiring and that speaks to me about who I perceive them to be. So today's quote I got from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and I'd like to share this with you. It's a little long, so hang in there. All right. The positive effect of kindness on the immune system and on the increased production of serotonin in the brain has been proven in research studies. Serotonin is a naturally occurring substance in the body that makes us feel more comfortable, peaceful, and even blissful. In fact, the role of most antidepressants is to stimulate the production of serotonin chemically, helping to ease depression. Research has shown that a simple act of kindness directed toward another improves the functioning of the immune system and stimulates the production of serotonin in both the recipient of the kindness and the person extending the kindness. Even more amazing is that persons observing the act of kindness have similar beneficial results. Imagine this. Kindness extended, received, or observed beneficially impacts the physical health and feelings of everyone involved. Now that's from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and we all love him. But that quote reminded me of you. Because whenever I saw you running around the campus and doing stuff that you were doing, there was always this sweetness. There was always this kindness to you. And I would hear that. We would share clients now and then, and I would hear my clients speaking of you in that way. So tell us what you actually do. Tell us a little bit about the therapy that you actually do.
Sure. Thank you so much, first, Peter, for inviting me in and having me here. I always thought very highly of you, and we always had a great connection, and so I'm really grateful to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think unconditional positive regard is kind of like the foundation of mental health recovery and connecting with your client on a personal level. So many times at Passages and in my work, people come in with all kinds of trauma and all kinds of issues that they're dealing with, and they don't see a way out. And so to have somebody sit there and listen to their story and to reflect it back to them and mirror it back to them without any judgment, and without, some of the energy they've gotten in the outside world from their families and their friends and, whoever that they've been in contact with. It really makes a difference to have somebody come in and be like, wow, I get it. I understand. Please tell me more, and, sit there and even cry with them sometimes, and really relate to what they're going through.
Right.
So, yeah, that opening quote that you began with, I think, is the foundation for the work that I do. And then I guess just, recovery in general, that, there is gratitude, that there is an experience that you can relate to, that there is unconditional positive regard, that, somebody, a therapist, another client, somebody else gets it and understands it and isn't trying to judge it or, make you out or make the client out to be, the monster,
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Addiction is a big problem in the LGBT community.
Yes.
And it's a problem, around the world, but it has a higher spike, let's say, or a deeper demographic in the LGBT community.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of reasons for that, not being accepted, not accepting yourself, internal homophobia, external homophobia, not fitting into a spiritual system that you maybe grew up in, feeling cast out of that system, whatever. There's lots of reasons that people turn to drugs and alcohol or other type of substances
Sure.
in order to medicate themselves or to hide themselves. When we look at that specifically in the LGBT community, there is a sense of shame that is really, it's like a double whammy,
Yes.
right? You have experiences around that in your work with that type of thing. If somebody was looking to stop you abusing themselves, what would you say to them is one of the first things that they need to do?
Yeah, I definitely can relate both on a professional level and a personal level, because a lot of the work that, I guess that I had to do that got me even into this field in the first place was to work on my own toxic shame. And I guess, even toxic masculinity, living in a patriarchal society and, the maleness of our world kind of being forced upon us, it's not easy to kind of cope with that being, in my instance, a little gayer / bisexual boy,
Right.
I kind of float in between those terms,
Right.
and those identifiers sometimes. But yeah, I think it's really important, like you said, shame. Toxic shame is a huge issue, and then the collective unconscious expectations that are put upon us. And just, really recognizing them and seeing how they're manifesting in your own experience, in your body, kind of what your perceptions are as a LGBT person.
Right.
And then it can even go further than that, when we look at LGBT people of color, queer people, non-gender conforming people, looking at that and trying to find strength in that rather than ridicule and judgment.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Strengthen the individuality.
Exactly.
Of it all. Now,
Exactly.
we're going to go back to that in a moment because I love that topic. But what you said something I'd never heard before. It really struck me as powerful. You said toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that, that can be defined differently for different people. But for me, I even noticed myself kind of engaging in it, in certain situations. To be real blunt, who I am and how I engage my masculinity in different situations, even with clients, especially maybe straight male clients, puffing up my chest a little more to be able to relate to them, but not necessarily having that be a mask that isn't authentic, but engaging it in me and then thinking about the the meanings or the reasons why I'm doing it. So I don't know if it's necessarily toxic for me anymore, but just working within those realms of masculinity and femininity and what that means. But I guess what toxic masculinity means is, all the negatives associated with masculinity,
Right.
Control and,
Aggression. Aggressiveness.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
in a more negative way. I mean, maybe control can be positive in some ways, and maybe
Sure.
aggressiveness is positive in other ways. But yeah, when it's used to harm or it's used in a way to manipulate or control in a more negative spiritual sense, then it would be toxic.
Then it
And we gotta
becomes
look at
toxic.
it and kind of
Absolutely.
own it in ourselves.
Right.
The shadow side of the masculine.
Right.
Yeah.
I really felt that when you said the puffing up, that type of thing, that sort of false bravado
Yeah.
that a lot of people, because I'm actually seeing this in women. Like most of my clients at this point in my practice are female.
Sure.
And women going into the work or being part of a male dominated workplace. A lot of my clients are in the entertainment industry.
Sure.
A lot of them are surrounded, if they're a writer, they're in a writer's room that is 99% male and misogynistic.
Yes.
And it's hard to, it's funny to think of Hollywood as being misogynistic, but boy, those rooms, those are so, my producer right now is nodding her head with lots of emphasis. And there's almost this, and I'm going to use that phrase. There's almost this toxic masculinity that women are doing.
Yeah.
That they're bringing this false bravado. They're trying to, instead of trying to expand upon their own talents and step into their own power and be the goddesses, they're trying to pump themselves up into, being more, in a way, weirdly masculine than the men.
Yeah.
I've worked with some police force, sheriffs, different types of departments too, and with the females in that, I'm seeing that it's a way to survive.
Yeah.
My chest is bigger than yours. That that whole
Sure.
that whole type of thing.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying with that, and yeah, I guess it's how we wield it. It's how I picture the image that comes to me is like a sword, and we have to know how to use a sword or know how to use a bow and arrow in order
Right.
for it to be effective. Yeah, and if we're using it in a way that we're puffing up our chest, it's being used in a way to control or
It's like hollow.
yeah, maybe maybe there's a different way to use it that can be more effective, and I guess it is hard for women in a male-dominated, workforce or
Right.
situation to know exactly how to use that.
Right, because there's no role models.
Sure.
They are the role model.
Yeah.
They are creating,
Yeah.
this moment in time.
Sure.
There's women who've been doing things, Madeleine Albright, or women going back to 100 years ago, the suffrage movement and stuff, who were standing in their strength and standing in their divine feminine.
Yeah.
And I think that is becoming. I have a calling I do for all my women that are my clients. I want to call them into their divine feminine, into that strength of the warrior goddess.
I love it.
Where they
Yeah.
don't have to be the masculine, in order to be strong and powerful.
I love it. Yeah,
Right?
exactly. And I guess then we can apply that to gay men.
I was just
also.
going to say that, yeah, because gay men are this, and women, we're the middle sex. We are these middle, we get to define how masculine are we, how feminine are we. I love it. Chris is moving
Flowing.
back and forth. I love it. You guys can't see it, but he's like sort of moving from one side of his chair to the other side of his chair, doing these rib isolations.
Trying to engage.
Trying to be from one side to the
Yes.
other. It's awesome. And we get to define that for ourselves.
Yes.
And I think that's part of coming into our own, as being our own person.
Exactly.
But I see in the gay world a lot of extremes.
Yeah.
In the past, I get to travel. I've been traveling in the past a lot, and I go to other cultures, other countries, and I see these countries as not to hold the United States up as amazing, because we certainly have all of our problems. But when it comes to the LGBT issue, I see these other countries that I visit as being sort of 40 years behind us, where the gays are coming out, or LGBT people are coming out of the closet, but they're being forced to take on particular roles.
Yeah.
They have to be hyperly masculine, and they have to be these big bodybuilder, type of guys, or they have to be really, really super over the top feminine, in this way, and those roles are how they can fit in.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure it's the same for lesbians as well. I know it's for transgenders. There's a movement that I'm observing in the United States where transgenders are just claiming being a middle sex.
Yeah.
Maybe they have, if it's a man who's part female, then maybe he has breasts, but he still loves his penis.
Right.
That type of thing. Okay. I'm seeing that happen in the world, right? I'm seeing transgenders not going to the extremes that they used to have to go to before in order to find some sort of internal or external acceptance.
Sure.
How do you work with things like that with and layering all that onto an addiction?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I guess for every client it's different. Working with LGBT clients at Passages, and then again, I guess in my own private practice, we have to look at the individual. And I think, that layer of being LGBTQIAA, all the different layers.
Right.
Yeah. What is most important, and how do we show up? A lot of us, I know for me in my past, I had to define myself most importantly as a gay man or bisexual man. Again, I ebb and flow between those terms. Because I had to find a way to empower myself around that issue. That
Right.
was very loud in my experience at the time.
Right.
Today it's not what I lead with, but at the time there was so much trauma from my childhood and so many issues around it that had to be the primary thing that was I was looking at or I was working on. And so for us in our experience as LGBTQ people, I think it's definitely a part, especially in addiction, of what we have to focus on and how that affects our lives and how we identify and who we want to be as we move forward and we heal.
Right.
And many times it's a spiritual transformation. It's a spiritual process in that way.
Absolutely.
Owning that and being able to master both of those qualities and everything that goes along with that, the masculine and feminine within one vessel. But yeah,
and being okay in your own skin as that.
Right. And being able to, like I said earlier, wield that sword where you can use both of those things and all of the qualities that go along with that. It's just harder for us, I guess, knowing that still today the society does not fully, society at large, I guess, does not fully embrace or accept who we are. And now we have a president, and I don't want to get political, but now we have a president
don't worry about
that, president that is not affirming
the changes that have been made.
the people.
I look at that as something extremely important and powerful and perfect in this moment of time.
Okay,
I am so glad this is happening, because the reason why we didn't have acceptance on a cultural level 50 years ago or even more was because we couldn't accept ourselves. And in order to accept ourselves, we had to reject everybody else. We had to reject our families, our religion, people, gay men, especially gay men, but gay women to a certain degree. Gay men tended to leave everybody, reject everything.
Sure.
And go to, the Meccas. They would go to Los Angeles or New York, right? Those are your main places. And they would cut everybody else off. There would be no family. There would be no spirituality. There's certainly no religion.
Yeah, so they could be with their tribe.
So they could be with their tribe, but it was at the cost of cutting away everything else. Yeah. And I don't know if there was really a lot of self-acceptance. There was a comfort in being with the tribe.
Sure.
There wasn't a lot of self-acceptance even in that tribe, because the level of homophobia that even existed within that tribe was a problem.
Sure.
And we've developed, as we have come to accept ourselves more, so has the world. Because we're comfortable in our skin and we are who we are. and people are comfortable with that.
Yes.
When you're walking into a space and you're not comfortable as who you are, the other people in that space are not going to be comfortable
Sure,
with
they
you
sense
either.
it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Psychic.
yeah.
We're still, we're still animals, and we have those senses, and we feel that. So I think right now is our time to step into absolute, unequivocal acceptance for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Great
Now,
point.
when we get back, I want to talk about. My theory is that all addiction is based on a trauma. That all addiction comes from that space. So when we come back, I want to float that across to you and see what your thoughts are on that.
Sounds great.
All right, we'll be right back. My people, my people. I love you guys. Stay tuned. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're interested, check out convergencehealingteas.com. You can try all of these yummy, delicious teas that are actually crafted in my home kitchen to help you feel better. We have a Sleep Well blend, a No More Anxiety blend, and all of those ingredients in there are designed to help you feel better through the traditional qualities that Mother Nature has to offer. Check it out. All right. Hey, everybody. We're back with another amazing guest here over at Convergence Healing. You know, the show, we wrote our little catch line is healing talk, solutions for making, I'm even messing that up. Let's start again. Clap. Boom. All right. You want to grab some nuts? Can I go? No,
Yeah,
do
I
it?
can't hear it on my can't.
Oh, you can't. Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I'm sitting down with amazing Christopher Pearson. And, Chris, you know I love you. I think you're amazing,
Likewise.
and I love your work, and I love what
Thank
you're
you.
doing. And I want more people to tune into this type of self-acceptance. And we left off and before our break with this idea of we can look at what's going on in politics right now as something horrible, or we can look at it as a continuation of our expansion. Right? We push the limits, and those who are upset or don't like what we stand for are pushing back. And there's a president who is aligning himself, who wasn't originally. He actually supported LGBT issues in the past.
Yeah.
I don't think he understood them, but they didn't bother him. But now he's aligning with an experience with people that are bothered by who we are.
Yes.
And one of the ways that we can claim our power is for us to accepting who we are unequivocally,
Yes.
right? And I think that's one of the most powerful things when you look at addiction recovery is that ability to absolutely accept yourself and take absolute responsibility for yourself,
Yes.
where you're not blaming anybody else for your problems, for your fate, for who you are.
Yeah.
You are just owning it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Holding others accountable for maybe what they did, but also realizing that it's really your perceptions of what other
Absolutely.
people did. We can say yes, this happened, and then we can also release it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's what forgiveness is about.
Yeah,
Like people get this
absolutely.
weird idea, that forgiveness is about making it okay, that the horrible things that were done with you are somehow okay, and you're supposed to go up and give a hug to the person that raped you or abused you or something like that. No, but when you can do something, and I speak this through firsthand because I was molested, I was raped, I was slammed into the back of a semi truck and killed.
Wow.
When you can come to that place of I forgive you.
Yeah.
I forgive you. I don't have to like you.
Right.
I
Exactly.
certainly don't have to love you, but I can love the oneness that I believe we all are, and that you're a child of God, I'm a child of God, and I can love your higher self.
Yes.
But as far as that person that did that to me, I have no interest in being around you or knowing you or
Yeah.
having any kind of connection with you. But I
Exactly.
can forgive you and free myself
Exactly.
from that problem that you brought into my life.
Right. I tell my clients forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves.
Exactly.
We're not doing it for the other person.
No.
We're doing it for ourselves, and so that we can be free.
Yeah,
so
but
that
there's
we can move
something
on.
happening in pop culture now. There's this weird thing, this weird movement that I have to forgive, and this forgiveness is defined as I don't know. It's my stereotype of like a hippie that I have to walk over to you and I have to give you a flower.
Right.
Well, no, I don't. I don't have to give you a flower.
Yeah.
I'm forgiving you, not for you.
Okay, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
we get to define what it looks like.
Exactly.
And what our experience in it
Yeah.
is. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
something we do for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now I've been working with this theory since I got into my healing work. And the theory was that all addiction starts with a trauma.
Yes.
Something happened. You didn't know how to deal with it. It got stuck inside you. You couldn't deal with it emotionally, physically, or spiritually. So you had to shove it down in your body.
Yeah.
And that trauma, that pain is actively being felt consciously or subconsciously in your body. And we're turning to sex, drugs, alcohol, even work, anything we could be addicted to, food.
Absolutely.
We're turning to those things in order to somehow vent out that pain.
Yes.
So when I have clients that come to me, I tell them I don't want them to stop drinking first.
Okay.
That's one of the things I tell them. I said, I don't expect you to stop drinking. Now, I don't get clients that are in the gutter and, on that severe level. I get
Right.
people who are generally functioning as alcoholics or drug addicts. And I say, we're not going to focus on that.
Okay.
And they, oh my God, they just breathe. Like they go, oh, okay, great. There's this sigh, all right? And I say, you're going to slowly or you're going to stop.
Sure.
And I express that to them. And I say, if you can, we're going to limit it and we're going to drop it down and we're going to manage it. But I'm not asking you to go cold turkey.
Yeah.
I am asking you to dig deep inside to find the things that are motivating your need to go and pick up the drugs, alcohol, or whatever it is.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And we focus on that stuff.
Okay.
We focus on finding those traumas. I call the trauma a ghost.
Okay.
I say it's a ghost. It's something from your past that thinks it's still alive. You're still feeling it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't belong in this moment in time.
Okay.
So let's go teach those ghosts to find their way back in history. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And as we do that, the abuse goes away.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess sometimes we have to re-experience it, re-feel it, and I'm sure you've seen that. But yeah, as we process it and let it go, it leaves us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the type of work that I do isn't even about feeling it anymore. It's about understanding how it's been existing in the brain.
I like it.
It's totally science-based. It's
Okay.
what is the sensory data that was recording that experience that you're currently feeling?
Great.
And can you teach it something else?
Yeah.
But this idea means that the person who is experiencing the addiction has all the power. Now, in traditional AA and that type of stuff, we are powerless.
Yeah.
So there's a conflict
Yeah. Yeah.
in that type of understanding.
Sure.
And I've noticed that AA only has an 8% recovery rate. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I think what I understood is that's basically across the board. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people use AA, and
Not that AA is bad,
Yeah.
but it needs to be coupled with something else.
Sure.
It can't be just AA.
Sure. Maybe that would, if it was coupled with something else, that would increase the rates that
Body
we're seeing.
work,
Yeah.
spiritual counseling, right?
Right.
Stuff that's going to get those ghosts out of the body,
Yeah.
drumming it out,
Yeah.
sound frequencies,
Sure.
that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, you've done some of that type of stuff before.
I have.
Yeah.
I did incorporate AA into my recovery.
Mm-hmm.
The meetings and the sponsor did help. But,
yeah.
What really helped from AA for me was a way to socially connect outside of the meetings that I
Yep.
could be with people and socialize without having to go to a bar and drink, or
Right.
having to go do some lines at somebody's house, or, doing those types of things that I used to do.
Yeah, having a
when I was
community
socializing.
around you that
Exactly.
supports you
Yeah.
in your recovery.
Sure.
Absolutely. And that's what I think AA is good for.
Yeah.
I have a theory that AA is good for recovery,
Yeah.
but it's not good for sobriety.
Okay.
So I want people to go and do that general recovery, but then they need to go and expand further. And that's what you've done.
Sure.
You've expanded beyond just AA and that sobriety kind of loop,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And how can people, what was that moment? Because there's a moment, I think, for every one of us with addiction issues, there's a moment when we kind of, our consciousness pulls away from our primitive brain, our habituated way of being, and we say, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Right? There's a moment that happens. And I have no idea how to create that moment. I think it's random. I think it's something that comes after over time.
Yeah.
But how do we encourage that moment in people?
Sure.
What do you do in your practice for that?
Yeah, I like to talk to my clients about acknowledging the benefits of their using, knowing why we were using. What was it doing for you that helped?
Yeah, exactly.
And then realizing the consequences of your using.
Yeah.
What was all the, excuse my language, shit that happened from
Yeah.
your moments of using or your life of using, and to try to rectify the two. Now,
Right.
if I can balance them out and say, oh, yeah, there are benefits and I can keep doing it.
Yeah.
But there's twice as many or 3 times as many or 20 times as many negative consequences.
Right.
And, so logically we can get that sense, from that type of experience, also the processing of the trauma that we talked about earlier, feeling it again, getting it out, understanding the work you do, the science of it, coming at it from a more, hypnotherapy type perspective,
Right.
or whatever, you're delivering.
Right.
And I guess it's more of looking at everything as from a holistic paradigm,
Right.
and addressing things on various levels, various parts of who we are, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, your purpose and meaning in your life and what that looks like, work-life balance, to look at all of these variables, and then at the end, not at the end, but as you go along, kind of check in with yourself and say, hey, is this still something that's benefiting me, or can I let this go now? Right. Is this still, if we look at the cost-benefit analysis,
Right.
is this still beneficial enough for me to keep doing? And a lot of times if we're really looking at ourselves as from a holistic, standpoint, and we can start to make changes in our lives, then no, a lot of times it's just not beneficial anymore. It's not worth it anymore. I've
Right.
worked through my issues. I've worked through my emotional baggage. I've worked through,
Exactly.
my my false beliefs of, who I was or what experience means to me, so.
I'm really
think that's
glad you
important.
brought up benefit, because I think that's important, because we all benefit from our pain, whether we realize it or not, right? Somebody who gets that cold benefits from that cold, because it may be the only way that they can learn to ask for help, or
Sure.
they can learn to, or they can take care of themselves. The only way they need an excuse to stop.
Yeah.
So the cold is that benefit that gives them that excuse to be able to stop and take care of themselves.
Absolutely.
So one of the ways that I look at it too is, once you can figure out what that benefit is, can we get that benefit met in a different way other than going to that place or those people or using whatever it is that
Yeah.
you were doing? Can you
Definitely.
have a different choice or make a different choice to get
Absolutely.
that benefit?
Yeah.
So when we get back, Chris, you have a few tips for everybody. And I
Yeah.
want to share your tips. And so everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back. Boom chakalaka. Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. If you're interested, check out convergencehealingteas.com. You can try all of these yummy, delicious teas that are actually crafted in my home kitchen to help you feel better. We have a Sleep Well blend, a No More Anxiety blend, and all of those ingredients in there are designed to help you feel better through the traditional qualities that Mother Nature has to offer. Check it out. Okay, we are back. I love my audience. Have I told you guys how much I love you? I think you guys are amazing. I'm really, really blessed to have you tuning in, and I hope you keep doing that. Share us. You can find us all over the place. If you have a friend in Kalamazoo, tell them to go to SoundCloud. If you have a friend in Okinawa. Go to, Okinawa. If you have a friend in Okinawa, tell them they can tune in on iTunes. Everybody has access to iTunes. And let us know your thoughts, because we're really happy to hear from you. So my friend Chris is sitting in front of me. I adore Chris, and he's super cute. You guys could also find him on Facebook. So he's good eye candy. He's useful as well as decorative, just in case you wanted to know that. And Chris is a very accomplished therapist. He comes from a background that is very holistic in looking at addiction in a way that it's a whole person, and not just and that's not a number, not just a problem, not just a disease. It is, addiction is in healing, it is a heart healing. It is, and it goes deep with Chris. So Chris has some pointers for us, some tips that you can all use in order to create a better life for yourself. So Chris, take it away.
Thanks again, Peter. Yeah, I just wanted to share, in my own journey of recovery and the work that I do currently at Passages, which really looks at the underlying issues of, why people are using or why people are experiencing pain or discomfort in their lives. And I was able to kind of over the years put together a paradigm or a plan for most of my clients to continue to move forward once they're out of inpatient treatment, to continue to do this work, which is super important. This is a lifelong journey of transformation. It's not just a 30-day quick fix,
Right.
So while that's important to, go away to a place where you can really, look at yourself, I think everybody in this world should do that, do their vision quest or take time off of work or their normal life.
I know. I don't know why. Like,
Yeah.
I don't certainly want to go and have an addiction issue, but
Sure.
I would love to go to a rehab place. I
Yeah.
would love to go to a
Yeah.
place that is like,
Sure.
I get intense therapy and body work and, counseling and spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh. I
Yeah.
think that would be awesome. I think we need anxiety rehab centers
Yeah,
instead of
I love
addiction
it.
rehab
Yeah,
centers.
especially in our world today with
Right.
how fast everything is moving.
Yeah.
And, we all have to deal with that in some way or another. But
Mm-hmm.
what I like to focus on is these 6 foundations that I think are really important for us all
Mm-hmm.
to kind of make sure we have a well thought out plan on how we're achieving them in our lives. And so the first is physical, kind of, again, looking at ourselves as a whole person. Physically, how are we taking care of ourselves? Mentally, are we in the zone? Are we stressed out and overwhelmed most of the time? Or are we bored and lonely and we don't have enough on our plate a lot of the times? And trying to stay within that balance, not too extreme in either way. Then, who are we emotionally? How are we feeling? How is that expressing ourselves in, how we feel, but then also in our body and in how we relate to other people. So kind of checking in on our emotional self, our emotional body. Spiritually, where we're at, what that even means to us. Some of us want to look at religion, but I know for me, I pull from religious thought and religious ideas, but, nature is spiritual, or meditation is spiritual, yoga is spiritual, group conscious, connecting with people is spiritual. So figuring out what it is for you. The next is, social. Who am I as a social being? We ebb and flow between, introversion and extroversion. And I know for me, I need my personal time, and that's always very important to me. Yet if I'm too introverted, I have to make sure that I'm making time for my friends and my relationships. And then if I'm too out there and too much about connecting with other people, I sometimes feel like I've lost my center. So, trying again to find that balance. And I guess that's the key to all of this is balance. And I guess the next one then is purpose. And who am I besides my work? What am I doing besides my work? What other meaning do I have in my life? How else can I, recreate or redefine myself? We are all constantly evolving. And a lot of us like to stay stuck in comfort of, I know this, I'm going to my 9 to 5, and then I'm going to come back home.
Right.
And a lot of times we become complacent.
Expand.
And exactly, and redefine and recreate. And I think that's really important. So, looking at all of that, I also think that, like we said earlier, processing our toxic shame and trauma, however that shows up, whatever, things from our past that we still notice are holding us back, are painting us, are
So like
making us
writing
act
about
in
that
certain
or
ways.
talking about that
Yeah.
or getting it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In your profession, with talk therapy, physically, however we can do it, finding blocks to authenticity, who we really are behind the masks that we wear. And we all wear masks, but a lot of times they can become counterproductive and they can become, detrimental to us if we constantly use them as a way to avoid who we really are.
Right.
So trying to let those go, we can use them occasionally, the work persona as opposed to the, social persona.
Sure.
They're different, but, if we're rigid in them, it can really be a problem. So trying to be able to be more balanced in that perspective, finding your higher purpose, finding your higher power, whatever that means. Just listening to your intuition, which I think you work a lot with in your field. I think that was really important to me. We have our logical self that kind of can steer us in different directions and Did I say erections? Sorry.
You didn't,
Yes.
but you did now.
Then we have our emotional self and our heart that pulls us in different directions. But then we have our gut. And, a lot of the times we fail to listen to that faint voice, powerful voice, but faint voice that pulls us in different directions or gives us information that isn't logical or isn't heart-based. And we should listen to that too. Exercise, yoga, diet, taking care of our physical body.
So anybody right now who may be listening who is about to medicate themselves and they're about to reach for that chocolate cake or they're about to reach for that drink, what would you say to them right now?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Pause. Respond versus react. We don't have to do that.
Breathe.
Again, cost-benefit analysis. Can we take pause and just, why am I doing this? How is this going to hurt me or benefit me? And then talk about it. I know a lot of the times in my journey of recovery and kind of reaching for that substance or reaching for that thing that was going to make me feel better, if I just took a minute, called somebody and talked about it, or took a minute and thought about it, or asked myself, why am I really doing this? Sometimes it made a difference. I would say most of the time it made a difference.
And what you're doing there is you're actually changing your brain chemistry.
Right.
You're actually sending out a different chemical sequence in your brain when you do that pause.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. So hey, all right, we don't have a lot of time. We got to wrap it up, and I could talk to you forever. So let us know how people can find you.
Sure. I have a website. It's called pearsonhealth.com, PearsonHealth.com. I'm on Facebook also. I don't know should I give my telephone number?
No, but if there's any other way that you want people to reach out for you, that would be awesome.
No, that's it. I'm coming out with some retreats and converting my thesis in my master's work into a book that will be out soon. But right now, you can reach me where I said and check in with me and connect with me in those places.
Great. Chris, thank you so much for being a guest.
Peter, thank you so much. I'm really grateful.
It.
And thank you for this wonderful work that you're doing and educating and helping the community in which you serve.
Well, awesome. So on that, you guys can remember, you can share us all over the place. All right. My people, I love you all. Make it a beautiful day. And thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.